Welcome to Fourth and Frames. I'm your host, Chris Battistone. With me, as always, are two of the best-looking people in the game, Rhett Manuel and Drew Scott, and we are joined by special guest Gator J, and we were hosting or breaking down our NFL mock drafts and the fantasy impacts they will have for the 2024 season. Let's get it popping.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
All right, like I mentioned at the top, the guy with us today needs no introduction. Gator J, friend of the show, most importantly, a brother of the three of us, one of our favorite people, not only in the fantasy space, but on the planet Earth. Gator, welcome back to the show, man. We are so happy to have you on screen with us, brother.
Oh, I absolutely appreciate it. I love being with all three of you. And like you said, this is like the brotherhood has come back together for an hour or so. But I am super excited that, Rhett invited me on and I didn't have to wonder what kind of crap or shit was Chris going to dig up in my background to sit here with an intro.
I saved you, Gator.
Yes, you did. The only one that goes 0-16 in a 14-game season. The only one.
Well, we appreciate you coming, man. Well, we're gonna we all did a 2-round NFL mock draft, and we're gonna just break those down for everybody. Talk about where we have certain guys falling, trades, some of our spicy hot takes, because we've talked about rookies and prospects ad nauseum now a lot, and we've done chalk mock draft after chalk mock draft. We want to have some fun with it, snap into a little bit of excitement. We have no Slim Jims, but we got Gator J. Almost as good as a Slim Jim is a Gator J. So
add a little salt.
Yeah, exactly. But before we hop into it, guys, Caleb Williams projected to go 101. It's been noted that he's been in the building. He's got the playbook. He's got a locker already. Nate. I mean, if you want to hop in, Nate,
get on your computer,
we'll get
man.
you the link. Get on, Nate. Get in here and
you know how to
talk
get
a lot
in
of
here.
shit about all of our drafts, because you're more than welcome, Nate. I mean, you don't need no invite, brother. You tell us you're coming on.
You let us know when you're going to be here. We'll make room.
Exactly. But it's projected to be a historic offensive draft. I'm nervous that we're going to see an absolute just tackle and defensive driven draft. But the over under on the trades is set at 4.5. Are we taking the over or the under on that? And we'll start with Gator.
Yeah, I think that number is probably dead on, because that's right at what I have in my mock. Is I think it's 5 trades. So if everything goes, if everything goes to plan, and the NFL script, I did write it. Then we are definitely taking the over on the 4.5. But I like, again, there's a reason why Vegas has big, tall, bright buildings. They're not giving it away for free.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Drew, 4.5 trades, over under.
It looks like I've got 3 in mind, but I'm typically lower than what the NFL actually ends up being whenever it comes to trades. I'm not usually the most accurate whenever it comes to projecting trades in the first round of the NFL draft. So it's probably a safe bet to go against what I've got as far as the trades go.
Rhett,
Yeah,
what do you
my
got?
my trades are probably terrible, but I've got right at 5 too. So you know what? Let's go ahead and
There you
let's
go.
land that over, baby. Let's get it. Let's make these people some money tomorrow night, for better or for worse.
Life's too short to bet the unders, right? Okay, so I got 3 trades in my first round. Gator, as the guest, speak on some of the trades that you have in the first round of your mock draft going on right now.
Well, it's like I told you pre-show. I put out a thing with league winners yesterday or the day before, of a parlay that I truly like, and there is a world that I see it happening, and that is JJ McCarthy going as the number 2 overall pick, and then of course Marvin Harrison being the first wide receiver off the board, and then my RB1 Trey Benson being the first running back off of the board, and over there on FanDuel, that ends up being at plus 4,500. Now, the reason I like this is, yes, the JJ McCarthy one is an absolute gamble, right? But for $100 or $10, you're going to turn right around and make, $4,000 or $400. It's about having fun with it, right? Listen, this is the NFL. They do weird shit every single year.
Every year.
So, why not take the gamble? But one of the big trades that I have right away that I could see happening, I did not put it in this mock, but there is a world where the Los Angeles Rams trade up to that number 2 position. To trade out of that position and go too far outside of the top 5. They still want to get their guy, and they probably can still get one of their guys in that top 3, top 4 area. So I could see where the Chargers move up to that number 2 position in order to take that JJ McCarthy. I don't think that the Vikings have enough ammo in this year's draft in order to move up to that number 2 to take JJ, and then with the Washington being able to get whatever they want there at 11, I think that's just a little too far back for Washington.
If JJ McCarthy does go to either the Washington Commanders or a team that moves up to take JJ McCarthy, right now his ADP is sitting at the QB4, respectively, middle or back end of the rookie drafts for Superflex at that 1.7 to 1.9 spot. Does JJ McCarthy going to either one of these teams that you just mentioned instantly make him the QB2 for you?
No. I think, well, if it's Minnesota, with the weapons that Minnesota has with Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, yes, I think he would move up to the number 2 for me. I don't think the Chargers have enough weaponry. I mean, they would have to add a bunch in the draft. And if they're going to move up to that number 2 position, they're going to end up losing probably 4 picks, somewhere in that range. I believe they have 2 1s. They probably lose their 2 on it. So I just, there would be some late trade, late draft pick movement between the 2 as well. I believe, just to make the numbers come out right. If it was the Chargers, I don't think he moves up that much. The interesting one for me though is if it's New England that does it. Mm-hmm. Even if he's number 2, if New England, even, it's only 1 spot, but if New England's that team that moves up, JJ may actually fall for me because it's New England.
See, that's the thing, too. A lot of people are saying that the quarterback that goes to England, whether it's J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels, or Drake May, takes an instant hit. But that guy's going to instantly go into a situation where he's going to be relied upon as soon as he enters the building. And with Jaden Daniels is the one guy where I don't think landing spot is going to matter as much because a lot of his points are going to come from his feet. So it's not going to be scheme dependent because as soon as he sees the breakdown, he's out and he's gone, right?
If it's Jaden Daniels going to New England, buddy, he better learn to slide because he is going to get smoked a ton.
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well. We all got some good trades going on in this first round. We got guys moving up, guys fading back. Let's break down probably the thick of the fantasy impactful picks in this draft. The first 10 picks of the NFL entry draft probably hold the most drama of these 3 days. So we're going to talk about those top 10 and then get into the rest of our draft with the fantasy impactful players. Defensive players are fantasy impactful, both IDP and offensively, because they can impact offensive players. But we're not going to talk about defensive players or offensive tackles. We're going to be strictly talking about offensive role players for fantasy football. So, Rhett, drop me your top 10 and hit me with any trades, fades, or jump ups that you may have.
All right, first off, let's just go ahead and call a spade a spade. My first overall pick is none other than Michael Penix Jr.
There we go.
Just kidding. It's Caleb Williams. Big shocker there. It's about the worst kept secret in the league at this point. Caleb is going to be a Bear, and he's stepping into a hell of a situation where there is quarterback 2, possibly quarterback 1 potential for him in year 1. Pick 2, no shock. I think Jaden's still going to be a Commander. I do have Drake at 3, though. There are some rumblings that New England is very interested in chopping that pick. Where against interesting to me is pick 4, where I have the Giants trading up with Arizona, taking back the 1-6, giving up a second next year and picking up a day 3 pick to take JJ McCarthy in that 4 spot. For me right there, I don't know if that is particularly a slam dunk landing spot for him because of the limited weaponry they have right now. But that being said, it would be a very interesting spot for him to land. And he was talking on an interview earlier today that he spent more time chopping it up with the Giants coaching staff than any other staff so far. So that's something to keep note of there. That 5th pick, we finally get Marv off the board in Los Angeles. I mean, Justin Herbert, there's rumblings that he may be traded. Get the guy some weapons. Get him a Marvin Harrison Jr. and let
that
that
ain't happening. That ain't happening. I'm going to go ahead and nick that one in the butt right now because Jim Harbaugh is so fucking petty. He is not going after an Ohio State.
Oh, he don't care.
That is not happening. Sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
6 with that
Ohio State anymore.
With that 6th pick, I have Malik Neighbors, and 7 and 8 are a tackle and an edge. We're not going to worry about that. Where I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just making this trade into the 9th spot out of pure spite. I have my New Orleans Saints trading up into that 9th spot, and you're thinking offensive tackle, right? No, I know what Mickey Loomis is. And Mickey Loomis over the past few years has become the sort of guy that is hell-bent on proving how smart he is and how he can make the playoffs without Drew Brees. So I have the Saints trading with Chicago, giving up that 1st and that 2nd round pick. And like we said, we're just doing it for fun here, but we all kind of agree that wide receiver room is a little thin. If Mickey Loomis wanted to make a splash, which he is known to want to do, he did it a few years ago at Chris Olave, he would have followed that up with a 9th pick. This is my kind of big shock in the 1st round and take Rome Odunze in that 9 pick once they got there, which would certainly be an interesting thing to happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm also not saying that it hasn't crossed Mickey Loomis's mind over the past week or so. And then around that top 10, everybody kind of feels like this is where it's going. Brock Bowers to the New York Jets. And he's one of these guys where I'm looking at it and I'm like, makes a lot of sense, but also would he be a big target there year one? We know Aaron Rodgers kind of picks who his guys are, and that guy usually is not a tight end in most situations. So in terms of fantasy landing spots, not sure that'd be a particularly great spot for a guy like Brock Bowers, but for the New York Jets, if you get that sort of difference maker with the 10th overall pick in the draft, you're cooking with grease.
I like it.
I love the landing spot for Brock Bowers if he goes to the Jets personally.
All right, talk that out.
I know that historically Aaron Rodgers might not use his tight end a ton, but the talent rises to the top, and Brock Bowers would by day one he would be the 2nd best option, behind Garrett Wilson, if not the best option. But I think he'd probably end up being like a 1A, 1B type of thing in terms of who the most talented pass catcher on the field is at that point. And I can't see him being petty and throwing it to Alan Lazard instead, just because he hasn't liked tight ends in the past.
Aaron Rodgers.
If you can walk in rookie year and be catching passes from a guy of Rodgers' caliber, I think that would be pretty solid. But we got somebody in the YouTube comments that for some reason I can't bring up. If one of you guys can throw it up, but somebody disagrees.
Don't ruin Josh. Yeah. Don't ruin Brock by sending him to the Jets. I mean, it's just it's gonna be a tricky situation with Brock Bowers on that Jets team, just with the history of the New York Jets, the offense of the New York Jets. Historically, Aaron Rodgers and Hackett haven't produced a top finishing tight end, so it's gonna be interesting. But like you said, cream rises to the top, and Brock Bowers is definitely the cream of the crop when it comes to this tight end class, and will be the cream of the crop when it comes to New York Jets receiving court. But Drew, you also have the Saints moving up into the top 10, but not for a wide receiver. And if, quite honestly, if they make this move, I'm going to shut the light off because I don't think that they would need to move up in the draft to take a tackle just because of how rich the tackle atmosphere is in this draft, especially at the top end. But give us your top 10, brother.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, one of the reasons I did that was just because of your GM's willingness to move up. And I can't remember which draft analyst it was that I saw say it, but he had said the majority of the trade discussion he heard about teams trying to move up was 4 tackles. Now, again, this close to the NFL draft, it's hard to know what's just noise or what's actually legit. That could be that those leaks could be coming from the teams in like 5, 6, 7, 8 that are hoping that somebody's going to be calling for a tackle whenever they don't necessarily need to. But whenever I saw that, I was like, man, if there's anybody out there that needs a tackle and has a GM that's like, yeah, I'll do that, it would be the Saints to me. So I did have them moving up to 9 to take Fashanu, but my mock's probably pretty chalk, at least at the beginning. I would say I've got Caleb Williams going to Chicago, Jaden Daniels going to Washington, Drake May going to New England, Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Arizona. So I've pretty chalk top 4, I feel like, but I've got the Vikings trading up to number 5 to take JJ McCarthy. And then I've got Malik Neighbors going number 6 to New York, and Joe Alt, the tackle, going number 7 in New York. Again, those two feel pretty chalk. Where things get a little different for me, I've got the Jets leapfrogging the Bears and trading from 10 to 8 to get Rome Odunze with him still on the board, and then so clearly needing another weapon alongside Garrett Wilson, and just with all the noise there's been around the Bears and Odunze, I could see them wanting to get ahead of them to get that pick. And at that point, once you get to 9 and there's no Odunze anymore, the Bears, once you get past the number 1 overall pick and their 9th overall pick, they only have, I think, 2 picks the entire rest of the draft. So if there's any team that needs to trade back, to me, it would be the Bears, and it makes even more sense once the top 3 receivers are off the board. Even though they could still go Bowers if they were really just hell-bent on getting Caleb Williams another weapon, but I don't think that they have to force that, which it wouldn't be a force to take Brock. Like, it wouldn't be forcing themselves to take a Brock Bowers level talent at 9 by any means. But I had them trading out and that offensive tackle going there to New Orleans. And then I've got an edge rusher going to the Falcons at 10, where they traded back from 8 to 10. So I'm going to extend my mock draft just one more pick, because at 11 overall, that's where I have Brock Bowers going to the Chargers, where they traded back with Minnesota. I've got him landing in LA at number 11. So that's my top 11, I guess.
Yep. I like it. Top 11, Brock Bowers, LA Chargers. I'm taking it, going for Brock.
I wish I could say it was the Rams, but
but yeah, I like that too. I have Brock Bowers landing on the Chargers as well in a trade back. Before we get to my top 10, and Drew, like you said, pretty chalky there. You got the guys that have been projected going to these teams. Not too much drama unfolding. JJ McCarthy in the top 6. Yeah, JJ McCarthy going 6 to the Giants.
5. I got him 5.
Top 5. You had to trade up with the Vikings, right? What do you have included, or with the Chargers and the Vikings? What do you have included in that trade? Do you have that?
To be honest, I can't even. I've got just the first round.
You got big
PFF on the screen. So I can't even remember what it was. I think it was. I know it was 11 and a future first, like a 25 first, and then
Justin Herbert
another pick or 2. No, Justin Herbert's not getting moved. No, that shit is not happening.
Right on. So a good top 10 there, solid top 10. Gator, give us your top 10, maybe even top 11 if you got an offensive guy going at 11 like Drew did there.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the same top 4. Caleb Williams to the Chicago, Jaden Daniels to Washington, Drake May to New England, Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. Again, I see a world where the Chargers could trade up, try to trade up. I also see a world where they could try to trade back. I tried to play this a little bit more as if my dream scenarios of this. And with the releasing or trading away of all the players that the Cardinals or that the Chargers did this year, let's go ahead and let's solidify the line in front of Herbert, unless for some ungodly reason they decide to ship him off too. We still got a couple hours before that could happen. So I got the Chargers taking Joe Alt, which that may be a little bit of a reach. But I think go ahead and start getting that offensive line in front of Herbert set up. And I think Joe Alt fits perfectly right there. I got the New York Giants go ahead and select Malik Neighbors, and due to Joe Alt being off the board, Rome Odunze going to Tennessee. First trade I have is, and I'm still wanting to find out about this whole Atlanta losing the number 8 pick, if that's going to happen or not yet, depending on these the Kirk Cousins tampering charges. But if they have that number 8 pick, I think is an automatic, easy move for the Vikings to go ahead and trade up right here to number 8. You wouldn't have to give up a ton, probably give up 11 and maybe a second. They could still keep that late first and go ahead and select JJ McCarthy there. And then I've got Chicago going, okay, we've got our guy, our tight end or our wide receivers that we wanted are off the board. Let's go ahead and secure Dallas Turner on the defensive side of the ball. And then again, I don't like this fit, but it's really, truly, honestly, the logical fit for the NFL because they don't care what we think and how we want to treat our fantasy teams. Brock Bowers at number 10 going to New York. The one thing I will say is because he's not so much an inline guy, he could honestly play the opposite side of Garrett Wilson and not be that stereotypical. Aaron Rodgers hates tight ends because he's really not a tight end. He's more of a
hybrid
tweener.
Yeah, he's a hybrid.
Yeah.
So I like it there, and I like the fact that you got the Vikings moving up to 8 instead of spending a bunch of draft capital to move up to 5 with the JJ McCarthy falling, because there was a tweet today that had both Albert Breer and Dane Burglar on it saying that the Giants weren't overly sold on JJ McCarthy, and they were both agreeing with that fact. Now, again, a lot of this could just be smoke and mirrors. We're all getting fed information from these people, and if it's not coming from CTESPN, I just don't trust it.
Don't believe it. Don't believe it if it ain't from him.
If it's not from CTESPN. But my top 10, I get a little spicy with it. I brought some drama. 1, Caleb Williams, no drama there.
Ooh.
2, I got Jaden Daniels going to the Washington Commanders just based on what he can do for that offense and the offensive system that they're going to want to run. I think it just fits what Jaden Daniels wants to do. 3, I got the Bears taking a page out of the Houston Texans playbook and moving up to that 3rd spot to take Marvin Harrison Jr. to add to that offense to make it even more prolific. Yes, they do got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, but Keenan Allen is a dinosaur when it comes to wide receivers, and he's got to be on his way out the door. He's going to be great for that young wide receiver room. 4, the Arizona Cardinals stay put because they do lose Marvin Harrison, and they take Malik Neighbors from LSU. 5, that's where I got another trade. I got the Chargers trading back with the Denver Broncos, and the Denver Broncos picking up, pretty much just selling their future for the next 3 years to pick Drake May there. At 5, the Giants land JJ McCarthy to sit behind Daniel Jones. At 6, they get their guy. Now, obviously, I saw the Albert Breer and Dane Burglar tweets after I constructed this mock, and I wasn't going to go back and change it based on what I saw. I got the Tennessee Titans taking a tackle in Joel Alt. Falcons taking an edge. The Patriots with the trade back at 3 end up taking Rome Odunze to bolster their wide receiver room and give them whatever quarterback is starting there a shot to produce. 10, I got the Jets because you can never have too many of them, especially on the Jets and their history. I got them taking a tackle just to solidify that offensive front for Aaron Rodgers. And then 11, Minnesota Vikings, I got taken Byron Murphy because let's face it, that defense was stripped down this offense. They've lost a ton of pieces, and they need to bolster that defensive front because what good is a rookie quarterback when he's going to come on the field and chase points at every drive? So you're going to want those defenders to help kind of prop up that rookie quarterback, not have him on the field for most of the game, and just help out with the offense. So for me, that's my top 10. 2 trades, 3-4 quarterbacks, a few wide receivers. I got Brock Bowers at 12 going to the Chargers.
Yeah. And Gator, I want to ask you a question real quick because we're talking about Denver, and it seems like everybody's all in on them getting a quarterback. They're the smokescreen reports, whether they're accurate or not, that they seem to be enamored with the idea of Bo Nix. Denver picks at 12. I think they can probably trade back, potentially still have a shot at Bo Nix. I guess my question for you is, number one, do you think that is a feasible move? And number two, do you think they're desperate enough to possibly even take him at 12 if he's on the board?
No, actually, because you said when we first started talking about doing this show, we were going to do 2 rounds, and I actually have Denver trading back with Philly for Philly to move up and get the cornerback out of Alabama, Terrion Arnold there, and then Denver is still able to go and get Bo Nix there at 22. So
Man,
yes,
that's
I still
tough,
think
though.
that's.
You see Bo Nix with a first-round grade? I just can't see
No.
man.
Did you not hear what I said? Maybe it was pre-show that I said it. But since the since the inception of this whole rookie salary cap, right? I think that was at 2001, 2002, somewhere in that range. Since that inception, these GMs don't give a damn anymore. They will reach on each one of these quarterbacks because guess what? The funds are going to be what the funds are going to be. They don't have to go out here and spend $60 million a year for this one player that hasn't done anything in the NFL, but they look decent for one season in college, right? So
that's fair, but it's
if
still
we
a
don't-
black
but if-
eye if I were a general manager taking a complete bust.
I'm doing this one of 2 ways. I'm looking at it going, I'm either going to find the diamond in the rough and Bo Nix, and I'm going to be fine, or I'm going to be fired anyway because I'm going to be back and drafted in the same position.
Yeah. I mean, diamond in the rough, sure. You want to take a diamond in the rough in the 6th, 5th round. You want to take Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy diamond in the rough then, but diamond in the rough with your most expensive draft capital, a first-round pick. I get the whole landscape of the quarterback thing, but it just seems Denver's depleted all over the place. I mean, you're putting Bo Nix in a room with Zach Wilson and Jared Stidham. It turns out being the 3 best friends that anybody's had. It's just a situation that's not going to lead to potential success. The Broncos are causing me indigestion. Yeah.
I heard this earlier. I've heard this earlier too from Joe Zolo. With Zach Wilson being back in the mountains, it's right around the corner from Utah. Maybe he gets his magic back. Maybe he gets his magic back. But,
maybe.
No, but going back to what we were saying, though, these GMs, they have to find, and whether it's in the first round, whether it's, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, they have to go and find the franchise quarterback. And if they can't get him, at this point at pick 22, it ain't going to matter if you get him at pick 60, 69, or if you get him at pick 210. That doesn't even matter.
Now, one more thing. I want to go around the frames real quick and just ask you guys real quick. It is draft day tomorrow. So let's start with Drew. Bo Nix or Bo Callahan? Who you got?
Give me Bo Callahan, man. I don't care who was at, how many people was at his birthday party. No, I think the only reason you should be trading for Bo Nix is if you're trading back into the 2nd or 3rd round. Wow. And the NFL might end up disagreeing, but him and Penix.
Wow, though I don't understand. Why wow?
I don't know. Him and Penix both. I don't see him being. I don't like you. How many years did it take you to be productive in college?
Like, you're way too smart to be.
You needed to be a grown man amongst boys before you really started producing, and now you're going to go to the NFL as a first rounder and just start out producing all these guys. I can't see it, man. I don't even really like JJ, but I can at least see it because he's still young and he had the pedigree and he does have the tools. And I could see NFL GMs being like, I can fix that guy. Like I could see that, but with
such a Sean Payton trait too. It's such a Sean Payton trait. Such a jump.
Yeah. I could absolutely see Peyton going to the Broncos GM and saying, "Hey, if you get me JJ, I'll fix him." Like you saw,
Yeah.
he would go in there and take credit for Drew Brees, and and I could see it. But like these guys like Penix and Nix that were in college for as long as they were, and it took as long as they were to really make an impact and be productive. It's just like, man, I can't see it, and I could end up being wrong, but they're guys that like if they get first round draft capital, they're going to end up likely being first round super flex rookie picks, which means I will have zero ownership of either guy. Like there's no way I'm taking either one of them over some of these receivers, or even possibly, like we'll talk about the second round in a little bit, some surprises and things like that. If a running back goes in the second round, I'll have whichever running back that is over those quarterbacks as well. I'll end up having no ownership of those guys if that plays out that way.
Yeah. And Mr. Scampers, thanks for tuning in. We're talking NFL mock draft and fantasy impacts with our favorite fantasy analyst, Gator J. And he has a good question. Is JJ McCarthy Sam Darnold 2.0? For me, I don't see him as Sam Darnold 2.0. I kind of got this, blurred vision of like a Daniel Jones 2.0 kind of thing going on. But what's your take? Is JJ McCarthy Sam Darnold 2.0?
I'll say this, and this is no offense to Mr. Scampers by any means. We love Mr. Scampers on the show, but I just hate making player comparisons, and part of that is selfish just because I'm bad at it. But I don't like making player comparisons with college guys to the pros. I'm terrible with it, so I'll just give that caveat and let you guys, if comparisons is something you guys do, I'll let you cover that.
Yeah, I don't like to compare him either, but I will tell you this. For JJ McCarthy, somebody that averaged 22 pass attempts per game in college because he wasn't asked to do more. Yeah. But he still had like a 70% completion rating. So I don't care if it was 22 passes or if it was 44 passes. He still completed what he was asked to do.
We should care though, because if it was 44 passes, that
listen,
coming down.
He handed the ball off better than any other quarterback in every other school.
And that's what kills me is like whenever I see people talk about JJ McCarthy, the stuff that they praise is like, oh, he's a leader, even though I've never been in the building with him. I just know he's a leader and he hands the ball off well and he wins.
You didn't hear none of that stuff about Sam Darnold. You didn't hear anything about Sam Darnold. He wasn't a leader. He didn't have elite handoff skills.
Sweet lettuce, though. All right. That's the first 10 picks. Some of us gave 11 and 12. Gator, how many more wide receivers do you have going in the first round, and where do you have them landing?
Wide receivers going in the first round. Let's see. I've got Brian Thomas Jr., which everybody knows my feelings on him, but I do have him landing in Indianapolis.
At 15?
At 15, yes.
I like that. They need that field stretcher to go with.
They do.
And Anthony Richardson can get the ball out, so I don't hate that landing spot for Brian Thomas. I have Brian Thomas going 20 to the Steelers.
Okay. This one might be a little bit of a surprise for you because I have a trade that I projected. The Chiefs moving up to 24, trading with Dallas, and going and getting Adonai Mitchell out of Texas.
Oh, interesting.
I like
a team that needs a receiver too, so that would be really interesting to see that play out.
Yeah, Dallas very good. They have a lot of needs. So I have J.C. Latham in that 24th spot, but I mean, there are a lot of places we can go there. But we're going to talk about receiver trades here. I was just having fun, and I was thinking, what'd be the most ridiculous thing I could possibly do where it might possibly be attainable? And so what I did is I had the Kansas City Chiefs up to 17, trading with the Jaguars, and then taking BTJ. Wow. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but you know what? This is one of those exercises where I'm like, if there's something that is ridiculous that is going to happen, once again, we're talking about if Sean Payton is the I can fix him quarterback guy, Andy Reid is the I can fix him receiver guy. Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you name it. He's kind of been like, hey, I could do something with that guy.
Wait,
And I
you
think-
just brought up 3 failed attempts at.
But they were still attempts, though. He kept on trying.
all I'm saying is that Andy Reid is the bad boy. Is the bad.
He never
girlfriend
said he
that's
was
like,
successful
I can
with
fix
it.
him. I can fix it. I can do it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Sky
Did it
Moore,
work out for them?
I can
No,
fix him.
but it might work out for us.
Wow. Yeah,
But I don't hate that either. I don't hate Kansas City being aggressive, especially with the Rashee Rice situation. They do have Marquise Brown there, so I don't know how much I would love BTJ in that offense with Marquise Brown, but I don't hate the move. So is that it for wide receivers for you there, Rhett?
No, I have a couple more in the first round.
I was just say one more, Rhett, because I've got one more in this first round, and it's Buffalo at 28.
I've got Buffalo, AD Mitchell at 28, and Troy
Okay.
Franklin to Baltimore at 30.
And I got Xavier Worthy there for Buffalo.
Oh, I would love
Nice.
that. God, I'd love that.
right.
All right. So I said I got Bowers at 11 to the Chargers, and then it turns into a defense and offensive tackle draft for me for a while. I don't have
same.
another receiver going off the board until pick 28. Talking about the Bills, I've got Brian Thomas Jr. going there to 28, which I guess might be a slide compared to where he's been going. But I know all classes are not created equal. It's not an apples to apples thing. But if guys like JSN and Jordan Addison weren't worth being picked until the 20s, I just don't see Brian Thomas Jr. being worth being picked in that 15 to 20 range. I think those guys were better prospects than BTJ is. So I have him sliding a little bit. And then full disclosure, it was before I saw the reports that I had that, but then I saw some reports. Apparently, Chris, you were the one that brought it up, that some teams have injury concerns. And again, we don't know if that's even real or if it's just them, smoking mirrors to try to get him to drop in the draft because they want, a team wants him to draw to him. But I've got Brian Thomas Jr. going at 28. And then I've got, I actually have the Panthers trading up back into the first round, leapfrogging Kansas City at 32. I've got them trading up at 31 with San Francisco and taking AD Mitchell. And then I've got Xavier Worthy going right after that at 32 to Kansas City. So back-to-back Texas receivers there to close out the first round. So I have pretty much no skill position players from 12 to 27. And then I've got 3 receivers going between 28 and 32.
Gotta load it after that.
I have a receiver question for you guys. And Chris, I want to go to you with this.
Sure.
With the potential trade talks of guys like Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins being moved, God, if even one of those two things happens, that really puts a big change in the receiver market on draft night, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the teams that move those guys. Cincinnati sitting at 18 might shift their
they're gonna
focus
play for
to
a
wide
receiver
receiver. And then even the 49ers at 31 could shift their focus to take a wide receiver because losing a guy like T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk creates a massive hole in your offense. So you're going to want to fill that hole. They might not go with the luxury pick and pick, maybe a defensive guy or maybe try to fill another hole on their offensive line or take some depth somewhere else. They might try to change the market and take wide receivers there, which would ultimately change the value of some of these guys. So I have Brock Bowers going to 12, and then I don't have a wide receiver taken off the board until 20 with Brian Thomas Jr. But if T. Higgins does get moved, I can see a situation where Cincinnati Bengals take another shot on an LSU wide receiver and bring in Brian Thomas Jr. or another one of these top guys to fill that hole with T. Higgins. Has Tyler Boyd been signed yet, or is he still?
I don't think so.
Is he still a free agent? Because there's still that situation too. So that Cincinnati Bengal offense, it could take some hits with that move. But same with the 49ers. So yeah, absolutely, it could change the landscape. So yeah, I got Brian Thomas 20 to the Steelers. I got Adonai Mitchell going at 24 as well, but to the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Bills, I got taking Troy Franklin there at the 28. Xavier Worthy, I have going to the Baltimore Ravens. And then I have the Kansas City Chiefs trading out with the New England Patriots, and I have the Patriots moving up to take the Michael Penix Jr. for the reasons that Gator presented earlier with the whole QB contract situation. So
I got to be honest with you. I don't think that that's a factor.
You don't think it's a factor at all?
I don't think the 5th-year option means too much for the quarterbacks. By the time a quarterback gets to the point where you have to decide if you want to give them their 5th-year option or not, you're not really getting on the 5th-year option. You're not really getting the rookie discount anymore. Like the 5th-year option is kind of pricey, and so most teams are trying to extend their quarterback by then anyway. And if you're not trying to extend them, it's because you're ready to get them the hell out of there.
Point.
So
no.
That's just my take on because that's not even just that specific pick. I've just heard, and that was not a thought that came from me either. I was listening to a draft show from PFF. Actually, it was before Connor Rogers and
Sycamore.
Yeah, at Sycamore before their show broke out. It was a couple years ago. I kept mocking Detroit trading back into the first round to take a quarterback at 32, and that was a kind of a popular take at the time. It was the Malik Willis trade year, or the Malik Willis draft year. Kenny Pickett, those guys, that shit show of a quarterback class, and they were the ones that brought that up. And I was like, that is a pretty good point. I mean, there is the luxury of having the 5th-year option if you hit on a rookie, but most successful rookies don't get to that 5th year anyway. Like that's something I just wanted to throw out there.
That's a great point.
I thought it was a good point by somebody else making.
Just to clarify, Drew, I wasn't saying that 5th-year option.
Yeah, no. I know you were talking about the pay structure of rookie now versus rookie,
and the cheapness of going and just getting them now. Adding that 5th year is an absolute a plus in a sense. I do want to ask a quick question because I have my thoughts on this as well. We're talking about the wide receivers, and you brought up the T. Higgins and you brought up the Brandon Ayuk. I do not think that there is anybody in this league right now that is willing to give up a first for either one of these guys. And the reason I say that is this wide receiver class is so deep.
But
the 5th-year option will matter when it comes to the wide receivers. So it is one of those, why would I trade for a guy that I've got to give up the first round and pay when I can have
every other receiver?
I don't know. I mean,
there's not a single receiver I'd rather outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Nabers, and Rome Odunze. There's not a single receiver I could confidently say I'd rather have than.
Yeah, but you're fixing to have to. Who if somebody trades for Ayuk, they are fixing to have to pay him and pay him handsomely.
And he's put enough tape out there to show that he's worth the money.
Sure,
so I have no issue paying him.
Sure, I get it. He's worth the money, but the problem I have is paying him when you can get somebody for 5 years way cheaper.
Yeah, but at the same time,
possibly do what he's doing.
Not year one.
You could draft a guy, and maybe he turns into Brandon Ayuk.
Maybe
or you could just
a tenth of the cost. For a tenth of the cost.
At the same time, Gator, we saw it today with Detroit. They just threw out $200 million contracts today, like they were freaking candy. This cap's gonna keep rising. By next year, this Ayuk mega deal is gonna be a drop in the bucket, dude. It doesn't really matter. Contracts are playthings at this point.
Hey, not wrong for the most part, man.
You need
the thing that's never made sense to me. Scampers is spot on. You have not only do you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, you have him on the rookie contract of rookie contracts. Like the dude is as cheap as it's ever going to get. Why the fuck are you trading people away? Like this is your moment. Every team's dream is I hope I can find a quarterback on a rookie deal so that we can build around them and we can win a championship before we have to pay the rookie quarterback. It's the same thing that Seattle did with Russell Wilson. And not to say Russell Wilson deserves all the credit for those Seattle Super Bowls because they had a great defense and they had great playmakers and things like that. But that's what you want. You want a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal that has shown you enough that, like, all right, we can build around them. Why would you trade away your star receiver? Just pay the man. Like I'm a Rams fan, so I'm hoping and praying and rooting they trade Ayuk away. That'll make my day. But I'm with Scampers, man. I don't get it. Like it's the Lions are about to fill it with having to pay Goff. They just handed out those contracts. Man, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, pay Ayuk. All right, that's the first round. Let's dive into the second round of the draft. None of us had Georgia darling Ladd McConkey going in the first round of our mock draft. I have him going in the second to the team that that drafted from 32, the Kansas City Chiefs, with the 34th pick overall. Rhett was the only one that had Bo Nix going in the first. Is that right? Gator, you didn't
Yeah,
have
we
Bo Nix
were
going
we
in
were
the
trying not to talk about that, which is why we didn't bring it up at all. But,
We were
Hey,
talking about round two again.
Drew's got Jelani Woods. You'll always have Bo Nix in the first.
sure.
I thought we were talking about round two again.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah, we
let's
are.
talk round
Bo
two.
Nix.
Do either of you two guys have Bo Nix going in the second?
I ended up putting him in there because I felt like I had to, but I didn't feel great about it. I forced a trade up with the Giants because I was like, man, I got to
Okay.
put this guy here in the second round somewhere. So I had the Giants taking Neighbors in the first round, and I think I had Penix going to the Raiders in the second round. So
Yeah,
man, I got to get Bo Nix in here somewhere. So I I made PFF force a trade with the Giants to get them back into the second, and I had him going one of the last picks of the second round.
Gator?
God.
Oh, I had him in the first round with the
Oh, you
Denver
did?
trade
Okay.
back. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. You did have him. I got him in the second. I have him going to the Las Vegas Raiders with pick 45. So just
Okay.
another injection of a quarterback, a little bit different than what they have now with Aiden O'Connell. But I don't know if they're overly comfortable with the situation that they got there now. So picking up Bo Nix in the second, not bad value there for him, bringing them in. We only had the one tight end go in the first with Brock Bowers. Let's go around the frames and talk about any other tight ends that we might have going in the second, if at all, and the teams that they're landing on. Rhett, we'll start with you, man.
Yeah, 49th overall, second round, Cincinnati Bengals. I think Jatavian Sanders going over there, giving Joe Burrow a possible another weapon, because we know Jatavian Sanders is not a very good inline guy. But what he is he has some Mike Gesicki big slot potential over there, which, I mean, did Gesicki sign with Cincinnati this offseason, or was it elsewhere?
He did. He
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so I don't know if it gets redundant or what at that point, but all I'm saying is that they probably need another tight end somewhere in that room. I mean, Drew Sample, I believe he's still there. Not a great option. I mean, so I had Jatavian Sanders, 49th overall, pick 17 of the second round. That's about where the tight end run ends for me. But I know you got somebody that you love in the second round, Battistel.
I do. I have Ben Sinnott going to the Washington Commanders with pick 40.
40.
I've talked about Ben Sinnott ad nauseum. I'm going to put him up there. That's my boy, and that's where I'll cap his value. I don't see him. I mean, 40 is a little bit rich, but I like him to the Commanders. And then I, too, have Jatavian Sanders going to the Cincinnati Bengals at 49. What about you, Gator? You got any tight ends going in the second?
No tight ends at all. I will say this. I have Michael Penix at 44 also going to the Raiders.
I have Penix in a trade up going 37 to the Raiders.
I had him
Okay.
at 44
Okay.
going to the Raiders.
So
Nice. So Michael Penix
Well,
Jr.
The
Future
script has
Raider?
been written.
I don't
If my
hate
tight
that at
end
all. Drew, you
wise,
got any tight ends? Yeah.
I've got, so I'll say I approached this doing what I thought NFL teams would do. Chris, you have helped me see the light. I've got Vincent as my tight end too.
Nice.
But I think the NFL draft wise, I think the only tight end that goes in round 2 is Jatavian Sanders. I have him going 40 overall to Washington, and then no more tight ends in the second round.
Yeah, that's probably the pick. Jatavian Sanders is just more of an athlete than Ben Sinnott. Ben
He
Sinnott's that more
tested so
inline guy.
bad though. Like
He
his
did
BART
test
score is
bad.
bad. Like
Yeah.
I came into the draft process a few months ago thinking like, yeah, Brock Bowers is 1, Jatavian Sanders is 2. Like, set it and forget it. Oh, you know, we can move on now. We can talk about tight end 3 and beyond. And now I don't even know if Jatavian Sanders is tight end 3 anymore. Like, he's a guy that has definitely slipped for me as we got closer to the draft.
All right. Any other QBs going in the second for any of us? We talked about Michael Penix. We talked about Bo Nix. Is there another quarterback that could possibly find his way into the second round of the NFL draft? Any of you guys got one?
No, I don't have any in mind. I guess if it was going to be anybody, it would probably be Spencer Rattler with some of
Agreed.
some of these. I'm going blank on words here, but with some of the momentum that he got leading up to the draft, maybe he goes. But I don't project anybody else going in the second round. I felt dirty enough putting Penix and Bo Nix in the second round.
Yeah, I
All
think when Rattler goes, I think it's probably going to be mid to late third, somewhere like the Rams, something like that. I mean, they're going to have to do something here soon.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
Listen, I'm gonna put it out there, and I hope it happens. And then you'll call me on Sunday and be like, "You son of a."
If it happens like third, maybe fourth round, I'm cool with it. I just don't want to see the Rams burn a second round pick on a quarterback. Stafford's slinging that shit, man. We don't need a quarterback. Look, stack up on players and try to go win one more shit before Stafford has to hang it up, man. I don't give a damn about a backup quarterback. They already invested a day 2 pick on knucklehead from Georgia that just
Stetson Bennett, baby. We're back.
Yeah, and Stetson's back. He made his, he disappeared for a year. He made his reappearance whenever guys started reporting. So
Natty Chan.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, let's get into
two natties and a doorknob. 2 natties and a doorknob.
All right. Let's get into the position that's probably going to see the most value rise in your rookie drafts come a rookie draft season for fantasy football, and that is the running back. Right now, a lot of the running backs sit with their ADPs at that top end of the second round of 12-team super flex drafts. There's a potential for a few guys to go in this second round to some of these running back needy teams like the Cowboys, possibly the Ravens, or a surprise team that we might not be talking about that might come in and swoop up one of these running backs, maybe even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Rhett. But for the running backs, for the running back position, how do we see it playing out in this second round? And we'll start with you, Gator.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've only got one running back going off the board here in this second round, and it's pretty late. It's Dallas, of course. And this one took me a minute to figure out which player I wanted to take here because Jonathan Brooks has been linked there so much with him being right down the road in Austin. Yes, the ACL to end last year. Trey Benson is my RB1. I just didn't want to send my RB1 there, right? I think there's better landing spot. Now, it's going to be Jonathan Brooks for me here to Dallas. I just think that's the better fit.
Pick 56
at pick 56. Yeah, that's where I got him. And that's
we all got Dallas taking a running back.
Yes,
I've got Dallas taking Jonathan Brooks at 56.
Yeah, I've got Benson at 56, and I've got Brooks actually, and I need y'all to hear me out on this. Benson to Buffalo at 60.
Ooh.
And here's why. First off, we know James Cook is the incumbent there. Fine. But looking at the world famous Our Lads depth chart, which we know isn't by any means the Bible, but it gives us a good place to work from. The other guys in that running back room right now are Ty Johnson and Darrington Evans. Say it with me now. Who? So
Darrington Evans.
All I'm saying is this: that Jonathan Brooks, he gets a year to recover. You don't have to rush him back.
It though, right? He's supposed to be ready by training camp.
But even so, you don't thrust the guy in right away, and he's going to take a little bit of time to get back to himself anyway. If you can give him half a year to ramp up slowly but surely and have him up and running that second half of the year, and you have a nice little 1-2 punch with James Cook and Jonathan Brooks, where the styles are just different enough to where it could possibly work. I mean, sign me up for that. I think that's a great landing spot for Brooks if that were to happen.
I would have agreed with you if I wouldn't have seen the increase in James Cook's usage once they switched offensive coordinators. That makes me a little bit nervous. Like if James Cook would have continued to play the minimalistic role that he was playing prior to the offensive coordinator switch, I might be a little bit more optimistic. But I don't know. Maybe looking at that is looking at, hey, just imagine if Jonathan Brooks gets that role. Maybe you can look at it, or Trey Benson gets that role. Maybe you can look at it that way. But they definitely seem to take a different approach with with James Cook once they made that offensive coordinator switch. So I would like to see another running back land there because it'd be really interesting to see how that played out. But it would be tough to navigate that as far as rookie drafts go, though.
Yeah, I lied. I do have my RB1 with a trade back into the second round going to San Diego to the Chargers. And that's Benson going to the Chargers at pick 64.
All right.
I would like that. I would like that. I've got Jonathan Brooks. He's been my RB1 pretty much since I turned on his tape. I think he was like the third running back I watched in the process, and once I got done with him, he was RB1, and then nobody ever unseated him. I've got him going 56 to the Cowboys, and then that's the only running back that I've got going in the second round. And just as far as even day 2 goes, the only running backs I'm really somewhat confident in trying to project day 2 draft capital, round 2 or round 3, is Brooks, Benson, and Marshawn Lloyd. Outside of that, I really don't I don't know what's going to happen with the running back room. And even that might not play out that way, but that's just kind of how I projected. But through the first 2 rounds, Jonathan Brooks was the only running back I had going at 56 to Dallas.
Yeah, it's funny, Chris, you brought up a minute ago, joking with Red about Tampa taking a running back. And I think there is a legitimate chance that
absolutely
if Lloyd is there in the 3rd round, he's probably going to be the pick for Tampa.
You know, my favorite landing spot that I'm hoping one of the running backs that I like goes to is Carolina. I want to see one of these top rookies land in Carolina. You saw what Dave Canales did with Rachaad White last year. And if if they get one of these top running backs, then maybe we see that same usage with them, because I'm not worried about Miles Sanders or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, right. They deserve the who treatment. Even Hubbard, with the work he got, he was serviceable, but he wasn't anything special to where, like, if a Jonathan Brooks or Trey Benson or Marshawn Lloyd, one of these guys lands in Carolina, I feel like initially that's going to get poo-pooed on because Carolina's a bad offense and things like that. But whenever you look at the work they've done to try to revamp this offense and the head coaching hire that they made and the usage that he had as a play caller for Tampa Bay last year with Rachaad White, I'm going to be excited for that. So I'm kind of hoping that we see a running back go day 2 to Carolina, because I think that he's going to end up being a value just because he's going to have that Carolina stench, but it's going to end up being, a nice workload that he's going to be walking into. But if if they wait until day 3 to draft a running back, then it's not even a guarantee that those guys are going to beat out Chuba Hubbard. So, we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, Chuba is a bum. Yeah. So I would like to see one of these top running backs land in Carolina. That's another landing spot that's really intriguing to me.
Yep, that's fair. I got that's a great landing spot. Carolina is, the situation there just absolutely sucks. So any of these top end running backs that you said that ends up there is gonna be great for fantasy. I only got the one running back going in the second round. I got Trey Benson going to the Dallas Cowboys there with that second round pick, only because we're not 100% sure of the availability of Jonathan Brooks. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be looking for that instant role player for that offense. Not that Jonathan Brooks can't be that, but
that running back room definitely needs help.
It needs an injection of
Royce Freeman.
Malik
Davis,
Dallas Cowboy Royce Freeman.
Even there, if you can look low enough, Deuce Vaughn's there too.
Former Dynasty first round pick Royce Freeman. How dare you, Rhonda? Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, exactly. So Rolls Royce, baby, and the rolls is for the stuff that's on the back of his neck. Let's finish this draft off, finish this show off. We got Gator J here, brother of the show. Let's talk about the wide receivers. I got quite a few of them going in the second round.
Same.
I got Carolina bypassing the wide receiver at 33. Kansas City Chiefs taking the wide receiver at 34 with Ladd McConkey. Arizona Cardinals just adding to that wide receiver room. I got him taking Malik Neighbors there at 4. Taking Ricky Pearsall at 35, a guy that just does different things than what Malik Neighbors does. Because just like the Dallas Cowboys running back room is depleted, the wide receiver room in Arizona is ugly. And them walking out of this draft with Malik Neighbors, with Ricky Pearsall, they're going to be, I think, quite content with that. Carolina Panthers, I then have taken a wide receiver at 39 with Jalen Polk. Then I don't have a wide receiver going until the New Orleans Saints. And this is a pick that's just going to absolutely shatter my heart. And they take Xavier Legette, just the guy that I think is going to fit in that Kubiak offense. We've heard the comps of Deebo Samuel ad nauseum. Like, we're all sick of hearing the Deebo Samuel comps. But if there's a player that's going to fit what that offense wants to do, it's Xavier Legette. Right after that, I got the Colts taking Malachi Corley, and then the Giants taking Keon Coleman. Don't have a wide receiver going until the Philadelphia Eagles picks. They take Roman Wilson, a wide receiver that does, again, things differently than the wide receivers that they got in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I got the Houston Texans taking Javon Baker, and then the Kansas City Chiefs adding to their wide receiver room at the back end of that draft, taking Jermaine Burton out of Alabama.
Now, Chris, hear me out.
Oh,
we're talking wide
round DC for Jermaine Burton.
Yeah,
that would be
the love is there for Burton.
He's got the talent. He's got the talent, dude. So if a team invested that type of draft capital into him, oh my God, he would shoot up draft.
And like we talked about earlier with the other guy there, the character issues with these wide receivers and the coaching staffs and front office
staff matters so much.
That can be like, we can fix this guy. We see it on tape. We see what this guy can do. We're going to bypass the character issues to bring, and we've seen the reports all offseason of teams not wanting to trade a wide receiver to the Chiefs. So the only way they're going to be able to find these studs, exactly. So they're going to need to bring these guys in. Yeah, and with the Rashee Rice situation, the Travis Kelce getting old, the wide receivers in that room just being complete ass. They're gonna attack this draft with the depth that it has and just replenish their wide receiver room. And I think Jermaine Burton on the Kansas City Chiefs is a gold mine for fantasy. So, Rhett, sorry, brother, what were you gonna say there?
So hear me out here. So I have quite a few receivers going in the second round. Ladd going 33. Where we have here, I have Roman Wilson going to Houston at 42. Pearsall 45 in that Chicago trade with New Orleans. Legette 51 to Pittsburgh. This is the interesting one for me, and I want y'all to take it back to the 2000s, if you will. The last time the Philadelphia Eagles had themselves a blazing, diminutive receiver who could get deep and make some noise, it worked out pretty damn well for him in Deshaun Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
One of these receivers is going to slide. And hypothetically, what if that receiver that slides is Xavier Worthy to Philadelphia at 53?
That would make me sad.
There's no way he slides that far, right? Can't be.
Somebody has to slide. I mean,
somebody does. And if Xavier Worthy lands in Philly, that would make me sad. Just because it's such a crowded receiver room, it would just, like he would have a role, but it's not as extensive as it could be if he was, on a team that was more receiver needy. So like fantasy, selfishly, that would make me sad.
Outside of Smith and AJ, who's the third receiver in Philadelphia? I really don't have a clue.
Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley.
Dallas Goedert sucks. Keep going.
How you feel about Saquon Barkley?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. I guess he could be the wide receiver 3 in that offense.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
They're paying him like he needs to be, and he's shown he has the pass catching chops to be. But the reality is, even if you have two very, very legitimate, like top 20 options in the entire league in your offense, like how much is left to go around at that point, especially whenever your quarterback, like it's not like Jalen Hurts is throwing for 5,000 yards a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, like two options is too many at that point in an offense.
Here's what happens at the end of the day, and all I'm saying is this: is that over the course of this NFL draft, we're going to be disappointed in somebody.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And Philly is a realistic landing spot for a receiver. So like your landing spot and the draft capital makes sense if he slides. I'm just saying, as a fantasy as a fantasy player and a guy that's high on Xavier Worthy, it would make me sad for his fantasy value. I don't
Yeah,
disagree
same.
with your
Same.
landing
Yeah.
spot or anything like that at all. That
Yeah.
your process makes sense. It would just make me depressed.
It would be
That's all.
heartbreaking, absolutely, because he would just become that boomer bust and ultimately
Yeah,
baseball type
and,
of wide
and he's
receiver
so
in that
much
offense.
more than that. Like he
Yeah,
ran the fast 40 survey, was like, well, shit. If you look at the list of other players that ran a 4.2 40, they all suck. So Xavier Worthy's going to suck. But like, man, Xavier Worthy outproduced those guys' entire career just in his freshman season alone. Like these guys are not created equal. They're not the same
Yeah.
thing.
They're not
It's
the
but
same.
but
With
yeah,
bad
Philadelphia is one of those
quarterback play.
landing spots that. Yeah, Quinn Ewers, like he couldn't hit him deep to save his fucking life. So like, just imagine if imagine if Xavier Worthy was paired up with Jaden Daniels and LSU instead of Brian Thomas Jr. Like, just imagine what his numbers would look like. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, to your point, Chris, that would make me sad because it would feel like he would be pigeonholed into that role that he is so much more than. And they like AJ Brown, he's not a free agent until 2026. Brandon Ayuk just signed the extension, so like this is like whatever receiver lands in Philly, they're really going to have to emerge to be fantasy relevant for the near future. Like not just their rookie season. We're talking about the next 2-3 years. It's going to be tough for them to carve out a consistent role. So I'm just praying one of the receivers I don't like an Xavier Legette or somebody lands there just for selfish reasons, But yeah, that's one of the situations that I'm most scared of. And I can tell you another one that I had the Titans taking a offensive tackle in the first round. So then I had them taking, I believe it was Keon Coleman, maybe. I don't remember. I had them taking a receiver with their second round pick, though. But I know they have Hopkins and they just signed Calvin Ridley to that extension, but Hopkins is a free agent after this year, I believe. And so, I could see them wanting to try to surround Will Levis with more weapons. And that's another landing spot that worries me because there is already
Mhm.
Hopkins there and there is
So much.
already Calvin Ridley there. And we don't really know what Will Levis is, but I think that they are a realistic landing spot for a receiver in that day 2 area. And that's another one that scares me along with Philly. But you're exactly right, Rhett. Every year there's these landing spots and these guys were like, we never expected them to take this position or this player, and now we're just heartbroken. And so yeah, that's absolutely going to happen, and it's just going to hurt my heart so much if Xavier Worthy's that guy.
Yeah, it was Charbonnet last year in Seattle, which was kind of
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I never would have thought that would have happened with how well with how good Kenneth Walker played his rookie year. Never would have thought they would have invested in another draft pick that early on a running back. That's a perfect example.
That's the moral of the story. We don't know shit. Reports.
We're an hour and 10 minutes deep of all this stuff we think is going to happen, and yada yada yada, and then the NFL is just going to completely.
I think the only pick we got right was the first one.
Yeah, we're 1 for 1 there, and then who knows?
Yeah, we're by let's see, 7:00 tomorrow, right? Is it 8:00 tomorrow? It starts. So whatever.
One of those times.
Yeah, it's one of those times by about 9:15 when pick 5 is called. The NFL has already told the 4 of us, you suck. I'm shitting all over your mock. It's all done. It's just going to be crazy how well we might get through the first 4 picks and be right on 4 picks, but it ain't going to be long.
Kev nailed it, man. We don't know shit about Buck, but I hope they all have fun, man.
Please tell me you guys watch the show. What's the show on Netflix? I'm going blank on the name now. Oh my God!
Bluey.
It's in the Ozarks. Where
It's called Ozark.
It's called Ozark.
Is it Ozark? It is Ozark. But the old girl on the show, whenever she's getting interrogated, she's I don't know shit about fuck. That's so good, man. That's such a good point.
Still
All right,
still a great.
let's
I can't believe this show is called Ozark, man. Oh my God. Punch me
And
in
it
the
was
mouth.
actually filmed right down the road here in Georgia. So just
shit.
Like,
all right.
Not in the
not in the
Ozarks.
Ozarks.
I'll tell you this before we wrap up. I know you
let's hear
guys. You guys all had kind of field stretchers going to Indy. I took the same route, but I went Roman Wilson in the second round. Is where I went in terms of getting him, getting them another field stretching weapon. So I think Roman Wilson's just kind of like a souped up Alec Pierce. So yeah, thank you for that. It's good to know the show about the Ozarks is called Ozarks.
Yeah, and just Indianapolis had both going to Indianapolis in the second round. So
You have Polk going to Indianapolis.
What's that
Yeah.
song? Grandma got run over by the reindeer. What's that called?
Grandma got run over by a reindeer. I love that.
Oh my Lord! At least we have people like Kevin and Scampers in the chat to let us know.
To educate
that-
us. Yeah.
That's right.
All
I
right.
feel like I
Any
just asked you
other-
guys what 2+2 was.
I want to
Before we
bring up.
wrap-
I want to bring up one
Yeah,
person
let's hear
right
it.
quick, and,
Let's hear it.
and it's because I'm a Gator. So
Bring
I
up two.
do want to bring up Ricky Pearsall, and I think you brought up. I believe you said you had him going to the Chiefs or Arizona.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals. Yeah.
So
yeah.
the one landing spot that I think that I had him go into that I think is probably a really, really, for fantasy purposes, is just going to be dynamic is Detroit. Playing the
man.
inside of Amon-Ra, being able to
They could use
use his talents and take away coverage from Amon-Ra. I think it's going to be good for both of them if that were the landing spot. I think that just and we know Jared Goff can get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
I think just kind of like as a whole, I think this running back class or this receiver class is going to break a lot of people's hearts because there's a lot of talk about how deep the class is and how excited everybody is about the class. But the reality is, to me, at least in my opinion, once you get outside the top 3 guys, there is a whole bunch of question marks. And like that, there's a lot of talent, but there's also a lot of holes in guys' games. Like Xavier Worthy it's the weight issue. Troy Franklin, he tested poorly and he had the drop rate in college. A.D. Mitchell, his yards per route run was like -10 or something like that. Ladd McConkey, everybody loves Ladd. He's a great route runner, but I mean, Georgia's thrown for like 5,000 yards the last 2 years, and he's had like 300 yards, which just doesn't make sense to me. And Keon Coleman, his contested catch rate is through the roof. Ricky Pearsall, these guys are we all love this class. Like we all can see the bright spots for the receivers, but outside of the top 3 guys, there's a lot of question marks too. And I think some of these guys are going to end up getting propped up, and people are going to end up being kind of pissed about investing in this receiver class they were told was so deep. And I do think that there's plenty of talent to be had, but I just think we've spent so much time, propping it up that I think some folks are going to be disappointed once we get a couple years deep into this, having this rookie class in our dynasty roster. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree. I think it's loaded with a bunch of wide receiver 3s. Wide receiver.
Well,
Yeah,
just
it doesn't feel like that's how people are looking at it. Like it feels like people are like, we've got all these wide receiver 1s and wide receiver 2s. We're just lock and loaded into our roster once we get our rookie drafts done. And I agree with you. I think it's a lot more wide receiver 3 and flex plays, which are still serve their purpose for fantasy, but it just doesn't feel like that's what the talk is being had around this class. And so, no, I agree with you on that.
Fucking Drew coming in here, throwing water on our fire. We've got the NFL draft starting tomorrow. It's supposed to be fucking happy times. We're talking about fantasy football and all of these wide receivers. I've got 8 of them going just in the second round, and you're going to sit here and poo-poo. And you're going to sit here and poo-poo on my weekend.
Yes, I am.
Absolutely.
Because the NFL draft is going to happen tomorrow. Nobody's going to give a shit about any of this. Like like Kevin already so eloquently pointed out, we don't know shit about fuck, and the NFL is going to remind us of that in the coming days. So this is my last chance to be a Debbie Downer. And look, I'm supposed to be having fun right now. This is supposed to be baseball season. I'm supposed to be having a great time.
Oh, you're a Cardinals fan. You know. By
I'm
April
in
1st,
hell
you're
right
done.
now.
Yeah,
I'm
April
in
1st.
hell right now. So you guys, I'm just bringing you guys along with me.
So I can't be down there in your doldrums.
You don't know how to say. I could ask you to use the "I'm about to bust" one instead, but the one you just used is much more accurate to how I'm feeling.
Fit it perfectly. All right. Before we get out of here, just to touch on the Detroit Lions situation, I think if they had that secondary wide receiver, they could have put up more of an effort against the San Francisco 49ers. If you look at the people catching the passes, the wide receivers in that conference championship game, it was Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The next wide receiver was Jamison Williams, who only saw 3 targets for 25 yards. He did have the touchdown, but he just was non-existent in that offense. And if the Detroit Lions want to take that next step as an NFL contender and not just be this flash in the pan team that, finds a little luck and makes a run, they're going to need to invest in that pass catching offense, because let's face it, Jared Goff doesn't seem like he's going anywhere, because this team is going to be a perennial winner now. And they're just not going to have the draft capital to pick a quarterback in the top 10 unless they get some luck to be able to do that, maybe make a trade and get a pick. And then that team completely sucks like the Carolina Panthers did for the Bears this year. But that's the show. We appreciate each and every person who tuned in and dropped a comment. We had, I guess we could say, the fourth amigo, Gator J, on the show. Gator, we appreciate you coming on, chopping it up. We went well over our allotted time, but let the people know where they can find you, what you got going on inside of fantasy football, outside of fantasy football. The frame is yours.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have it on good authority that we can go another 30 minutes if we want to. I can make that phone call. I just call Jorge and be like, "Hey, look, man, listen, it's been a minute. I want to hang out with no, we won't do that. No, you can find me at FantasyJ77 over there on Twitter. Me and my boy Chris right here, we throw up our Mocking with the Stars every Monday, having a blast with that. Directly after the draft this week on Monday, we will have Iowa Mike from South Harmon on. See me in the chat just about all of the Fantasy and Frames chats or videos that are going on. I appreciate you guys more than you know for the invite. First of all, for the content that you guys put out and the growth that y'all have done. Awesome job, the three of you.
You deserve so much credit for it, Gator, man. I know I can speak for all of us whenever I say that you have done so much to guide us through the process of the whole content creation game. So we appreciate the hell out of you, man. And you've got an open invitation to join us anytime.
Absolutely appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it.
Brett, any final words? Or are you frozen there, man? You haven't moved in a little bit.
Oh no,
he is still bent about goddamn Drew over here shitting on our wide receivers in the second round.
Yeah, I'm still upset.
I got him going there too, man.
Look, at the end of the day, it's the NFL draft. Regardless of what happens tomorrow night, we're gonna have a fun time. We're gonna have that live stream on Fantasy and Frames tomorrow night, where we're covering the first round. A lot of great guests over there. Just enjoy working with you guys every week, Gator, as usual. Great to have you back. Behind the scenes, looking forward to you telling us great effing show like you did all those times.
See, why'd you have to go and ruin what I was gonna do as soon as we got done with the show? You just
because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I got to wait for Chris to piss me off on camera.
So, Chris, what do you have to tell Gator? Go ahead.
You don't want to hear what I have to say, Gator. We appreciate each and every person, like I said, that hopped in, watched us from. We're pretty much over our year mark now, or quite. We started chopping it up around this time, right, fellas? It's pretty much around this time. So, yeah, that's a year for us. I appreciate Rhett and Drew and Gator, a big part of our start here at Fantasy and Frames and helping bringing us all together. I'm having fun. Full circle, man. We're just getting started. NFL draft tomorrow. Make sure you tune in to the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. We're going to have the live stream breaking down all the picks. Britt, Kevin Tompkins, Nate Markham's there. I'm sure some more Fantasy and Frames. Jorge Edwards, I believe the head honcho is going to be there. I'm sure we're going to have other Fantasy and Frames members and friends hopping in and chopping it up. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and just tap that notification bell to get notified when we do go live. Like the stream, it helps us tremendously, and we are very appreciative of it. For Gator, we appreciate you, man. Like Drew said, you're welcome every time on the show. For Drew, which you can find at Drew3MR. For my guy Rhett, which you can find at R Manual Sports. I'm Chris Battistel. Doodles.